And almost. Oop. Oh. Oh. Hey. Let me put this away for now. Yeah. Yeah. Feel free to sit everywhere. It's I got your message. I didn't get a chance to reply. Yeah. More than happy to tell you about how things were in the before days. And it's more mares than you can shake a stick at, right? Yeah. It's pay no mind to what that is. Let's focus on this right now. uh, so yeah, it's what we were speaking about before, which I didn't really get too into. Um, I understand that you have some questions of how things were before everything got better, right? Uh, I recall getting a few questions because your own relationship with that special some mare has been escalating in a good way, and it's really happy to hear that you've been able to have successes with that. It can be a little bit um, complicated when it comes to men and mares. There's a lot of moving parts involved, which it's once upon a time I was a young man too, and the mare aspect that's changed a lot over the years. So I guess if you don't mind, feel free. I got drinks over there. I don't really have much for snacks, but you seem like you're good to go. So let's kind of dig into it. So with what we were talking about before, once upon a time in the long, long ago, when it came to mares, they were pretty rare. It was around high school when I ended up meeting my first mare, my first relationship, especially with with the mare. It Man, it's one of those things that you never forget. It's it was a lot of fun, and it was right. We're not talking gentlemanly fun, but just in general sharing a lot of things. I guess the question is where to start with that, right? So it was science class where we first met. It was physics class actually, which it's interesting. Have you ever seen a group of three equine trying to do like a basic weight experiment? Long story short, they managed to pass the class, but it took some meandering and some extra testing. Way back then, you had the culture class, and when it came to mares and stallions and all that, there was still a lot of not necessarily discrimination, but segregation. And to be fair, that was something where they were very, very cautious and wary of humans. And to be fair, I mean, look where they came from, then you look at us, right? We thrive off of war and focusing on economic boons, and they focused on family tradition and pleasing their supposed sun goddess princess. I I don't know, man. To be honest, I think that's just part of the cartoon. I don't think that's I don't think that's what really happened. That's a bit silly. I say, knowing exactly the world that we live in today. But it seemed silly back then, right? So it's whatever. Anyway, when it came to meeting her, which I would rather Jacqueline not hear about this. I mean, I'm a married man too. I know you're. Did you get married yet? I'm sorry. I've been too busy to make it if that was the case. Or hopefully you haven't, and you can still invite me. But you don't need to tell Jackie about too much of this story, so I'm not gonna give names. But she she was quite a number, and it was one of her friends actually that ended up giving me her information. You know, it was near the end of the school year, and yeah, I'm just kind of on autopilot, right? It's the same thing anyone does in high school. They goof around, they have friends. Uh, you focus on not doing homework, and that's kind of what I did the best at. Partially because I did it in class, at least for some classes. So one of her friends, it was a human too, just this goofy fucking runt that had way too much energy. She's, hey, Anon, you know, she likes you. What's your phone number? Because, you know, back then I had a cell phone, but I never really used it for anything. This was even before the time of massive texting. It's quite an interesting time to have the rise and the advent of smartphones, and suddenly reality itself fucking turns into, I don't know, something better. Who knows? I haven't even bothered to keep track of the last few years of all the politics going on and back and forth, and she, interesting times. But anyway, she tells me, it's like, hey, what's your number? Because we're going to see if you want to hook up with her. And keep in mind, hook up didn't mean instantly do stuff, but just like the thing of, as it was later kind of explained to me, you know, after the fact, it's like, well, I'm single, she was single, she seemed really nice, and to be fair, she really was. Even at a distance, like, she was the type of filly that was friendly, but to strangers, she's just a little bit furtive. And that's, keep in mind, first generation in Earth. That's, it's a big step. It's a very big step. Uh, the language barrier was never an issue. Right? There wasn't even really one to begin with, which that's the freaky bit. But cultural, diet, just so many ways, it was just completely off the cuff. So I ended up giving her my number, and of course she gave me hers as well. The fun thing was, because they don't really, at least back then, they didn't really use cell phones. It was just her home phone number, house phone. So I ended up talking to her, and that first sight, man, you never forget that first time you look at her and you you see that she's looking at you, and it's just, she's not looking at you, she's staring at you, like all at once. She can figure out so many things, and wow. I think even back then, I ended up speaking to her directly, and I was the same thing. I couldn't think of anything other than to say wow, and she laughed at me, not necessarily at the compliment, or was it a compliment? I don't know. I hope she saw it as one. I think she did. We spoke for a few weeks, and then we had our first. Could you even call it a date? Would it consider as a date today? I ended up taking her out to the movies, which is not a bad option. Uh, it was a bit awkward to take a mare to a movie theater when the dude's like, "Hey, guy, no animals allowed." It's like, that's a very awkward situation. Uh, we ended up getting there just by walking. For her it was about a 10-minute walk. For me it was about an hour and a half walk. So obviously I said, "Oh yeah, not a problem. I'll be right there, right on time." I just, fuck, dude. In the middle of, at the start, I know, in the middle of the day, start of summer. Nah, dude, that's for the birds. I shouldn't have done that, but I didn't really think anyone would give me a ride to the theater, and at the time I didn't know what her mom was like yet, so it's for the best that we just met up mutually by walking. Uh, I don't remember what the movie was. We ended up grabbing popcorn. I got Sprite. She knew of sprites, apparently, like the fairy sprites, the creature, the mystical fucking thing, the actual sprite. Like, yeah. So she went with the sprite too. Ended up getting a popcorn, and Uh, I'll admit I don't remember much of the movie. It's it was nice. There weren't too many people in there, and when it came to her reaction to the movie, because it was involved a lot of horseback fighting and like just montages, a lot of travel and stuff, like stuff that she saw and was like, hey, holy crap, I think I know that guy. Or it's what are the odds, right? Of Technicolor talking horse and actual Earth created horse. I'm still confused on that. I don't know, man. I'm set in my ways. Speaking of, she wasn't Technicolor. She had a very dark, like almost pitch black mane and kind of this lighter brown coat. It's Man, even thinking about it back then, it was really something. You think, right? Like everyone thinks of like, oh, the minty greens and the bright reds and like just the most flamboyant colors, but for something that seemed so muted and just pleasant to look at, uh, just the most amazing. They weren't yellow; they were closer to green. They were like a blend, like like blending a lemon and a lime together. That sort of blend. It's the type of stuff where just again, this story time is between you and us. All right, my brother doesn't need to know about this. Our wives don't need to know about this. This is simply me telling a younger man of how it used to be. Okay, so we're clear. That said, holy shit, was she just gorgeous, and not in a way that necessarily caused any lewd emotions to pop up, but just like that sheer breathtaking quality. Now, keep in mind, this is the first date I've ever been on. You know, the first female human or equine or otherwise that I actually had the gonads to say, "Hey, baby, you want to go check out a movie and share some popcorn?" Now, of course, I said that in exactly that way. I wasn't nerdy or I wasn't awkward or anything. So just believe that, and yeah, just believe that. That's exactly how it went. uh, yeah, man, it's amazing how much I still remember from that one movie. Uh, I ended up watching more of her than the movie, which of course it wasn't like I was staring or anything, more just watching her get so involved in it. Like, of course, the cinema existed back then, right? But just, or not back then, but back where they were from, Equestria and all that. But it was, I think our technology is a few leaps and bounds above that. So it was after the movie, and of course, she's revved up, nothing but gunfights and racing and a few near misses and I think what she interpreted as a borderline romantic scene between the hero saving his precious steed from a train, because the train was derailed and it was going to fall off a cliff, and it's like the last second save. And funny enough, there wasn't a female lead, so that she might have been onto something there. But after that, we decided, you know what, it's still daylight out for at least another few hours. Let's go out and let's make it like an official date, right? Let's go out to eat somewhere. Is there I found out that apparently a lot of equine and mares they're fine with eating at least some sorts of meat, poultry and fish apparently. Not so much red meat or pork. So that's that's what she was into. So who knows? Maybe there are more vegans or carnivorous sorts out there, but it's whatever. Uh, we both end up getting again another Sprite just because back then I guzzled soda like nothing else. I didn't really know any better, I guess, and it was better than plain old boring water. Uh, The restaurant was a little bit more accommodating once they heard her speak, which the waitress may have freaked out about. That was fun. Again, this is before this became the norm, you know? We're talking like a family of equine to every 50,000 people. So, you know, I don't even know how big my hometown was. Uh, it's like maybe there was 10 families, if that. And keep in mind, not even full families. It's like with her, it was just her and her mom. You know, she told me her dad got sick a few years ago and you know, he passed, and it was just the two of them. She never really went into detail, and to be honest, I never cared to ask. It's a crass thing looking back on it, but to be fair, it's just, you know, everyone has their own issues, right? But one of her friends had, I think, like five siblings, both parents, two sets of uncles, two sets of aunts. It's like they had this massive section of land that they were building a home on. It's like, you know, apparently they had a lot of stuff that translated into a lot of money, which lot of raw resources are just, you know, gold. I again, you don't really ask these things at the time. You're like, oh wow, they're rich because a rich family is a rich family no matter where they're from, right? Supposedly. So we eat. It went pretty well. It's just again, it's I focused more on her. That first date, we didn't do a lot of talking. It was a lot of just enjoying our time together, and it's like enjoying the experience itself, right? Because hey, it's a date. It's an official date. It is the one date to start them all. Uh, after going out to eat, she asked if I could walk her home. But again, very close to her, so yeah, obviously, right? We end up walking, and of course, there are topics of saying, "Hey, what are you doing for the rest of the day?" Outside of going home, I'm gonna focus on playing, you know, Red Dead Redemption, because at the time that was a new game, which remember, I was once a young man too. So, and of course she's like, "Oh, hey, I don't have that game, but I've been watching someone play it. Would you like to watch a few videos of that with me?" Now, keep in mind, in the back of my head, young man that I was thinking of very human-centric things of, oh, what could this lead to? What could this all be? You know, I'm thinking with not necessarily the bigger brain. So we end up going to her house, and her house was just, it was head to toe covered in stuff from where they used to live. You know, old maps, like we're talking century old maps. We're talking just these tapestries on the wall where you can tell they're obviously too big for the wall, but they kind of fold over some aspects. The furniture, which you know, it's actually pretty, it was comfy, and just in the middle of all of this stuff, this big ass human made, like what was it, a Toshiba or a Sony, like one of the fancier TVs where back then it was bigger, boxier, and extremely heavy, but expensive and high quality, you know, for the next 2 or 3 years before it became utterly obsolete. But, you know, don't worry about that. And, you know, while all this was going on, it's like I'm kind of thinking, all right, this is going to go somewhere. This is going to get interesting. Turns out we actually just watched videos for like 2 hours, I think it was. And if it felt simultaneously like 2 minutes and 2 entire days, because it was something where just her reaction to something where it's like, here's John Marston riding his horse and just plowing over a dozen dudes. Here's, you know, this what was it, the wagon races, and it's just masterful controlling despite the bad AI and all that. so many things that just got her like so excited, where it's just for for a foreigner to see something familiar, that must have been really cool. And I was just I had no ulterior motives after that kind of sank in, and man, I'm gonna sound like such a fucking goober for admitting this part, but again, it's just between us, right? So near the end of it, we kind of just ran out of things to watch, and she's kind of like, "Oh, hey, by the way, my mom might be home in about an hour. I haven't told her that you're a human yet, and I think she might need more time before I can tell her that." That's interesting, but I kind of roll with it, and it's like, all right, well, that's not a problem. Uh, so with our video finished up, and keep in mind this entire time we're sitting on this really nice, I guess the equivalent is a couch, um, for a human-sized human, and for a mare like her, which, yeah, she still had a few more years before she finished growing, but yeah, it was rather cozy. It was rather not that spacious. Uh, so I was like, all right, well that's fine. I don't mind. I can walk back, and it's better to at least leave now when there's still light out, right? So I get up to leave, and like the second I move to try to get up, she puts one of her front hooves on my shoulder, and she kind of stops me, and just staring at me, just having just this nicest, the best smile. She leaned in, and suddenly I was having my first kiss. Now, I know if you'll tell anyone, and if you tell anyone, I'll have to drop you at the bottom of the lake with a new pair of cement shoes. But my first kiss with my first mare friend, uh, I closed my eyes, I pushed out my lips, and I pushed out my tongue between my lips, and I just kind of like made this weird face where I was like, okay, kissing obviously means tongue. I I don't know why I did that, man. I was taken by surprise. I was the one being aggressed upon. It was a war of northern aggression, alright? But it was nice. Man, I don't know how long it lasted. It wasn't like some intrusive, big romantic thing, right? It was decent. It's maybe I was looking more into it than she was, but by the end of it, it was kind of a thing of I that was awesome. I am going to head out and think of that, and I will call you later. Um, and then I left with my IQ about maybe 30% of what it normally was. Um, Man, talk about a wow moment, right? So I later find out, and of course this is important, where apparently when Equin do their relationship stuff, like the kissing is apparently a big deal. Oop, there we go. Had to plug that in. Uh, I didn't know it at the time, but just sharing a kiss was a very big show of courtship, because apparently, where there is more. Everyone likes to say 50-50. The courtship was more genuinely 50-50, as in whatever you did, they would usually reciprocate, or it was not unusual for a mare to make more forward advances. because it's just, the friendship, the harmony, and so on and so forth. Cultural differences. Let's leave it at that, right? Anything deeper for philosophers. So, now keep in mind, at the time I didn't really know this, and it was maybe 2 hours after I got back. Oh, well, I hear her talking to me, and her mom is in the background shouting. This is a good reminder, which of course, I'm guessing you've had this type of situation too, where they have very strong noses, and this extends to certain types of urges acted upon and not. Apparently, apparently, her mom knew I was over there. Not that she knew, like, she's coming over and she's gonna catch us in the act, but more, there was some sort of olfactory response or evidence, and she did not treat it like it was a big thing, but the way her mom was speaking, yeah, I probably might have ended up in the hospital if I were still there. So yeah, successful first date, right? Well, turns out next day at school, we shared the class at least for the last week or two. That we were aware of each other anyway. Hanging out was nice, of course, since uh, largely human school, things kind of were easier to blend in. So just sharing lunches together, usually just going to the library or taking a walk around the campus. After school, usually walking her back, which, for a human, walking a few miles, that might take a bit. For a mare, sheesh, light work, dude. And if you've seen just how far they can go without really getting tired, it'll wear you out. I'm sure it probably has. Right? Again, man to man talk. Uh, I'm trying to think more of stuff that stood out, but at the time, nothing did. Like it's you don't think ahead when stuff like this happens. Uh, that first summer that we were together, after that, and then a second date where it was another movie trip, and then after that it was to an outdoor mall. I thought they had the arcade still there, but it had been shut down even years before that point. And all we really did was just walk and talk and not necessarily window shop, but just kind of like idly muse at the type of people who would buy certain things. That type of walking and talking. Uh, Over that summer, I would say that we definitely got closer. The kissing was stuff that I adapted to. So that one tiny misstep, it did not ruin them. It did not ruin anything at all. And in fact, I was a quick learner. To be fair, I had motivation. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to normal relationships with humans, I mean, I recall that one ex that you had years ago, and yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Certain type of steps, they just happen, or it's one of the first things that does happen. With her, that was never the thing. There was always a level of respect of boundaries, let's call it, and it never bothered me. As I thought about that stuff, obviously, who wouldn't? But it was never a type of thing of like, oh wow, so many more. Excuse me. It's pretty late out, isn't it? Yeah, not too late, but that's alright. It's a weekend. Uh, it's that type of stuff that you think of, but you never kind of say, "Oh man, I can't wait until this happens. One more date, and then this is open." it was never that type of situation. And whenever it came to uh, talks of things like that and of varying levels of steaminess, it was usually supplemented by the larger stuff of, romance. Actual, like, oh my god, real romance, And of course, it's obvious these days. But again, keep in mind, not used to this type of interacting, this type of not even socializing, like this level of bonding and first relationship on top of it. It really swept me up in it. By the start of the school year, of course, 3 months of avoiding her mom, not due to sneaking around, just the mutual understanding that it would probably not be a good thing. Okay, that's more than understandable. Uh, when it came to the dating, I mean, I through phone call, I kind of asked with her as an intermediary, and someone got approval. I mean, make sure there are people around and know we're creepy, and if she finds me, she'll kick my head off, and the usual. I'm gonna call that the usual response that parents have. Whatever. Uh, sheesh. At the time, I didn't know what her problem is, but looking back on it, yeah. But either way, start of the school year, we're like this. We're like two peas in a pod. Uh, Due to how rare mares were in the school, it was really easy to get the classes matched up, just because it's the thing of, hey, we're very close friends, and the school didn't need to know details. We're very close friends. I am acting as a guide of sorts. It is important to make sure that I am there with her for classes. So a lot of my schedule got shifted around to share with her. And that was awesome. I mean, always sat together. After a certain point, more or less just shared homework where I would take care of a few classes, she would take care of a few others. Surprisingly good at chemistry. That's, yeah, you would you would never think chemistry by talking to her, but yeah. Periodic tables, I remember iron, like Fe, and then carbon is C, oxygen is O. And she remembered so many things. Like dude, I don't even know how. I've never seen her study it. So, of course, we had the easy street. We always had chances to hang out. Occasionally, we'd go out to somewhere, an unofficial sort of date, and she would always call it a date. And I was like, well, yeah, obviously, right? We're a couple going out and doing stuff. Keep in mind, we never really had any money except what we could get from our parents combined. So, a date's a date, whether or not it was fancy. Uh, Things really, really kicked off around, what was it called? Do you still have it? Homecoming? Is called Homecoming back then. Uh, Fall semester, I think. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Either way, it was themed. I think it was themed after. Jeez, dude, I don't even remember. Movies? No, it wasn't movies. It was ah, I remember. Due to the mares and the stallions and like the cultural divide, and a way to bring that, the theme of Homecoming was foreign media, foreign movies. I don't know, like foreign, like blanket term. I don't get it. I like there's one couple who showed up as a samurai and a geisha, and it was exactly the type of dude who you would expect to not only have a kimono but an actual anime size sword, and then he called it some stupid fucking thing because Adult Swim still had a lot of anime at the time. That level of stuff. Thankfully, we did not go into that realm. Instead, we chose Don Quido. Or rather, she was Don Quido. I was a lighthouse. Yeah, turns out, because she took Spanish class, I took also Spanish. I really don't remember any of that class, but the interesting part is, even though it was technically Mexican Spanish class, she showed a massive interest in Spain, like Spanish class. So of course, like Don Quido is one of the most famous Spanish stories out there, or whatever. She liked the idea of this guy on his loyal, trusty steed charging against windmills, thinking they're dragons or whatever. So obviously the first idea was, aha, I get to be Don Quido and she's my steed, right? I remember she told me, well, that wouldn't make any sense. It would be a lot funnier if I were Don Quido and you were the lighthouse and I would randomly charge into you. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, okay, yeah, why not, right? So rather than it being a rather romantic couples thing, she shows up in like this Three Musketeers outfit with a cape that drags like 2 feet behind her. And this, I have no clue how, but she got this goofy fucking Three Musketeers hat, and she rocked it. She rocked it really well. And this puffy shirt that didn't really fit her that well, but it looked nice. I mean, it looked really nice. And then you have me in this spirit of Halloween looking ass windmill. Worst of all, the actual windmill bits are static. Like my arms, each arm formed a windmill spoke, and then one went right next to my face, and the other went right between the legs. So as you can tell, it was a very sexy outfit. I was rocking it, killing it as a windmill. Now the funny thing is, we still had a lot of fun. I think we were like the only actual couple there that was a man and a mare. And keep in mind, this was really rare. So you had a lot of people going between like, oh cool, you guys are going out as friends, and it at that point it was kind of a mutual, no, I'm her boyfriend. I'm her actual boyfriend. And that led to interesting reactions. Funny enough, nothing ever negative, more just like a thing of like, ooh, how does that work? Or, more fun questions of like, oh, I bet you enjoy the manhandling, just stuff like that where it's like you're really kind of surprised at the indifference or the modest approval. I guess it was approval. I mean, everyone jammed on it. They liked her outfit a lot more than they did mine. Uh, oops. Uh, that's probably a little bit loud. A little bit of out of character, out of story thing. I just forgot to charge my headset. Oopsie. It's first time. It'll get better next time. So, the homecoming eventually dies down. It's maybe 9:30 p.m. and I have no clue why I did this, but it was around, what was it, October? Um, and as we are walking out of the school, because usually her mom just kind of went everywhere on her own, but for this, she ended up getting a taxi that she was also riding in the back of. And just with this being homecoming and with this being close-ish to Halloween, I remember it wasn't yet Halloween, but it was close to it. I start seeing Thriller. I could not tell you why. I it was slightly embarrassing. Okay, looking back on it, but it's like you gotta keep in mind, man. It's like it's really dark out. There's a few headlights, and it's just out of nowhere. It's like it's close to midnight. Something evil's lurking in the dark. I just I kind of like I half go in it. I half go with it. I half just I'm kind of messing with her, and it's just next thing you know, I'm like I'm going full into it. I'm spinning the windmill arms. I'm selling it, and she's all for it. She's never, dude. Imagine singing Thriller to someone who's never heard Michael Jackson before. Like holy shit, the level of hype that she had was unmatched. And I didn't know this until much later, but the whole winter wrap up and like all the songs that were usually sung. Apparently, that's part of the culture. That's an actual thing of like singing's a big deal there. It is an actual communal thing. Like she has songs with her mom that are about stuff. I have no clue how. I do they write them or practice them? Is it truly this like spontaneous mind mesh thing where everyone knows every lyric, or it's like they just have this freakish psionic ability? I don't know. All right, but when I did that, that like it sparked something. Like the gleam in her eye was just it was amazing. And by the end of it, I'm on this goofy fucking high. It's like, dude, I wasn't even a theater kid or band or anything. It's like I had no after school groups to be a part of, and yet here I am, like doing the crotch grab, like doing all this stupid goofy shit while a few cars are going by, like no one else around us, and she's just like she's getting into it. She can hear the music that I'm not playing, and I remember, I very clearly remember saying I'm going to thrill you tonight because that's the lyric, and I hear this furious scream saying no you're not, and yep, turns out that was her mom, and she was not happy. Apparently she too could also sense the sort of song that I was singing, and I guess the lyrics were less of a horror movie and more of something that was, I guess, red flags, alarm bells. I don't know, man. She ends up snatching her away. Her mom ends up swooping in, and I don't get cursed out, but I get the equivalent of mare cursed out. This equivalent involves being told if I ever see you again, you're going to need more than a bucking hospital. Kind of funny how they do the whole self-censor thing, right? But I think that's just again cultural differences. Uh, so yeah, I end up getting my own mom to pick me up, and I don't know. Have you met? Well, you've met Grandma, but it's been so long. I don't know if you remember her. She got some laughs out of it. She was also asking me why the dark horse and not more normal human girls, but that's its own topic entirely. So fast forward about maybe a month, Thanksgiving. Uh, Not able to go over there or bring her over. Apparently, they have their own holiday equivalent, or at least she said that technically her mom said they do. So I don't know how much she knew about her old world culture. Uh, and then Christmas time, hearth warming. I think for them, it's There's so many variations out there these days. All of it touched by modern businesses. You know, the standard stuff. Uh, I'm able to get a ride just to stop over because I had a gift for her. The gift was it was a very very nice brush. Like, dude, we're talking like a $50 brush. Back then, fucking kid in high school, $50 might as well be 500. You know, it's a new video game, right? Or close to it, not counting tax. But I had that, a mix of local chocolates, like local branded stuff. It wasn't until Valentine's Day when I got her frozen strawberries that were chocolate dipped. Trust me, Valentine's Day was a fun time, but this was before that, so I didn't get that fancy with it. And I think that was it. I think between those two things, I was kind of tapped. And of course, at the time, more of the extended family was alive, so it was still kind of a family thing. Uh, I remember stopping by, and I remember feeling that that house was just, it did not have any sort of positive vibes to it. It did not have any sort of joyous cheer. And you would think if anyone would be happy, it'd be like, family Vecwin, right? Turns out it was around where Christmas is that her dad passed, and apparently it. I later found out where I think it was not cancer, but some sort of disease, some sort of thing that apparently a human doctor, like a vet. I don't know. It sounds insulting to say that now, right? But I'm from a different era. I'm just, you know, that's just how it was. Um, but he ended up getting a completely wrong diagnosis, which it's not surprising these days because it's just so much different biology. And I'm sure unicorns exist, but I've seen like maybe one on TV. I've never met one, not a real one. So, um, that was awkward. It was the one time her mom was happy to see me. Not happy to see me, but happy that I was there to see her. Uh, and she was happy to see me. She loved the brush. I We spent maybe 3 hours um, just with the brush and focusing on getting everywhere, and it just her mane and tail turned out really, really great. Uh, I think that's the one time I was at her house and her mom didn't like do anything weird or threaten me or anything. It's like she could you could tell she hated me. She genuinely hated me. I guess I don't blame her. It's not like I didn't do stuff, but nothing too bad, right? So Christmas came and went. Of course, we're we got everything down pat now. All the classes, nothing to worry about. We're like the one school man and mare couple. So, everyone knows us, or at least everyone knows of us. Everyone knows our names. Uh, Valentine's Day was very special. It was around Valentine's Day where Hearts and Hooves, right? Uh, it was the chocolate coated strawberries. Dude, keep in mind, it is only like a case of like 10, not even a dozen. It's like $30. Like, you fucking kidding me? Including like a little bouquet with it, but yeah, whatever. Apparently, she liked the bouquet just as much as the strawberries. I didn't really know that they ate flowers, but she liked him, so that's a win. Okay. Uh, I guess we never really talked about it just because everything felt so natural and we just kept going with it. And apparently, she said the reason why her mom was so defensive of her and thus so hostile towards me was that she knew how humans were. Now, when she said she knew how humans were, she kind of did like the air quotes with their hooves, where it's like, one, you're adorable, you fucking dork. Two, I, yeah, I wasn't guilty of those thoughts, but it wasn't like I ever acted on them, right? Uh, and apparently that was the one consistent concern that she had. That's why all of her friends were, one, female. Two, like most of them were like the only other mares in the school. They kind of stuck together pretty well. Now, of course, all the others in the group, they approved of us. Never saw any issue with it. But it wasn't that bad. It was also then that she kind of mentioned that the kiss was her way of choosing me. And when I say choosing me, I mean that's the one and done. That's the one and then done. And thinking on it, even right now, it's the same reaction I had way back then. That's, what are we, 14, almost 15 years ago? And I think that put a lot of things into perspective. And at that point, it wasn't like I was never serious with stuff, right? But I think it's at that point that I started to get more focused, is a good way to put it. I started talking to my mom and my relatives, and I started just kind of like openly brainstorming stuff and just saying, "Hey, this is going to happen." Uh, at the times, I had plans for community college, and it's like, "Hey, um, there are vouchers out there for her. There are vouchers out there for this." Keep in mind, this was not exactly headline material, but it was something where it was worthy of some sort of uh, I don't know what it was, paperwork, some sort of, it was something that would involve a lot of documentation of going from just a couple to, I I guess you could call it married. Uh, Keep in mind, right? We're not even a full year of dating. This is high school, high school sweethearts. But with what she said, when it comes to how stallions and mares and how they just they find someone and then they know right off the bat. It's instant. And just keep in mind cultural differences here. Divorce is always a massive thing. For decades and decades. For over there, it wasn't a thing. And it wasn't just that raw compatibility. It was always that willingness, begrudging or otherwise, to make things work and to make them at least a little bit better. Now, keep in mind that's all the stuff that I've seen from the outsider looking in. I don't know how it was before the I don't know, the fucking Chris Chan dimensional merge or whatever that really caused this. It turns out I'm not that good a historian on this sort of thing. Yeah, I had bigger issues like noticing that she made both a really good pillow and blanket. I must reiterate, this is between you and me, no one else. So you can understand the sentiment well. And yet nothing really big happened, right? That's the key factor. Anyway, the idea that we had was, okay, she can go to college with me. We'll have the exact same classes just like high school. We'll go through whatever. I think her family had to check in with some sort of, I don't know, DHS. Was it Homeland Security? It was someone that was like a government official, but I don't know. Obviously I never met them, right? So, but it's after hearing that, I'm focusing more and more on that. Like, okay, here's where we're going. Here's what we're doing. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be freaking amazing. And near the end of our last year of high school, I end up noticing that she's more tense, more happy, and more eager than ever to hang out, even if it's like an extra 2 minutes. It's it's that sort of that feeling that you get like something bad's on the way, and it was. So the deal with her mom again, she hated me, dude. She hated me. If she could somehow or like orchestrate some sort of quote unquote accident with me dead, I think she would have done it. I like that level of just raw animosity, where at least she was somewhat civil about it sometimes, but just it's like that smell of ozone in the air. You can tell she's around at that point. So I end up finding out that they were planning on moving. Her mom was planning on moving, and she's gonna take her with. And she was filling her head with all sorts of things of, it's human murder rates, human divorce rates, human infidelity rates. It's just the worst of the worst of humanity, and just saying, hey, look, this in this country, in this culture, his demographic, his age, all these things point to all these bad things. And it's just it. What am I gonna say? A lot of military in the family, humans that made careers out of killing other humans or training to kill other humans. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go to Canada and talk to the guards and see how many times they've even been in combat scenarios. Never mind, having this quasi pride of, yeah, I have like 4 or 5 relatives from World War II. I mean, how do you explain that to this peace-loving species? Yeah, how can you remain proud of that while talking to them, and they give you that look, that stare where it's like, I don't know if I want to talk to you anymore. And it wasn't working, thankfully. But around graduation, the last time I physically saw her was it was 3 days after graduation. It was Sunday. I think it was Sunday. It was early morning. She ran by and she's like, "Hey, let's go get breakfast." Like, okay, did you want me to like fix something, cereal or whatever? She's like, "No, let's go to IHOP." Oh, yeah, bitchin'. I love IHOP. I still do. Just all the ones I go to end up making me sick for some reason. So we end up running over to IHOP. That is like, it wasn't that far a walk, but it wasn't close by either. Of course, I had some money saved up. She had some money saved up, but I beat her to the punch because, very fast hands. And we end up just having a ton, and we end up doing just a lot of stuff throughout the day. It's before I knew it, it was maybe like 2 or 3 p.m. and she said I had to go home. And, she told me that she had to go home. I was like, all right, I'll walk you. And she said, no, I have to go home. And I don't know what I don't know how I reacted to that. Uh, I never called anyone, but I had a friend pick me up. He was pretty quick on getting his driver's license and all that shit, and of course his family had a spare car that was this fucking junker, and he's like, oh yeah, I'll pick you up. I got a call from what's her face, and she said you'd be over here, so I'm gonna pick you up and drop you off. And he didn't really ask any questions. He kind of knew the score. He knew that we were a couple, and he could kind of see, I guess, from the outsider's view that it seemed really good to us, but to others it still just seemed weird. So uh, I called a few times every day for the next 2 months. Uh, After a while, I didn't even get the uh, answering machine. I got nothing. Um, about 5 weeks in, I got the notification that you're calling a number that's no longer in service. So I do whatever I can. I try to contact the school, and of course it's not related, so they can't give me any information. And just like that, she disappeared. Um, Technically, about maybe 2 years later, I something on the news popped up, and I never cared about the news, but I ended up watching it anyway. And yeah, apparently they had moved, and a different human had popped up, and I don't know. They classified it as a break-in, and yeah, it was interesting stuff back then. And again, between you and it was rough, and I'm glad that you have your situation, and it sounds like it's been improving. And again, I apologize if I missed the wedding. I haven't kept track of most recent affairs. I'm hoping that'll change. And of course, this nice little less a ring and more a bracelet. That's you know close enough for a wedding band, right? And I wouldn't I wouldn't give up Jack and Stein for anything. Not in this world or the next. But yeah, it's when it comes to the trust and the safety stuff, that her mom was right. Her mom had a reason to be concerned. Just not for me. So listen, it's late. I appreciate you sticking around for the story. Maybe next time I'll have something better. I mean, trust me, there's a lot of better stuff. But for now, uh, get some sleep, and we'll make up with the better story next time. if you're still interested in history, which I have plenty of history to share, uh, we can talk a bit more about more pleasant things, like, how I met the missus. Uh, that's better, right? I mean, trust me, it leads to a very happy ending. I'll let you know that. So, uh, yeah, that's it. So, here's the next time.